Good morning, everybody. My name is Jake Weiss. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Today, we're going to be reading a passage from Jeremiah chapter 22. And in this passage, the prophet Jeremiah is preaching a word from God to the king of Judah. And this king is best known by his throne name, which is Jehoahaz. But Jeremiah in this passage is going to call him by his birth name, which is Shallum. And we're going to see in this passage that God and Jeremiah aren't very happy with Jehoahaz. So let's read Jeremiah 22, verses 11 through 17. For thus says the Lord concerning Shallum, son of King Josiah of Judah, who succeeded his father Josiah, and who went away from this place. He shall return here no more. But in the place where they have carried him captive, he shall die, and he shall never see this land again. Woe to him who builds his house by unrighteousness, and his upper rooms by injustice, who makes his neighbors work for nothing, and does not give them their wages, who says, I will build myself a spacious house with large upper rooms, and who cuts out windows for it, paneling it with cedar, and painting it with vermilion. Are you a king because you compete in cedar? Did not your father eat and drink and do justice and righteousness? And then it was well with him. He judged the cause of the poor and needy, and then it was well. Is not this to know me, says the Lord? But your eyes and heart are only on your dishonest gain, for shedding innocent blood and for practicing oppression and violence. So, in this passage, Jeremiah compares Jehoahaz a lot to his father, whose name was King Josiah. And Josiah ruled as king in Judah for about 30 years, and he's generally remembered as one of Judah's best kings. He led the people back into faithful worship of Yahweh and away from other gods that they were worshiping at the time. And most importantly, as we read in this passage, he judged the cause of the poor and needy. He cared about people who were oppressed in his kingdom. But Jehoahaz, his son, on the other hand, he was only king of Judah for about 3 months before being carried off into exile in Egypt. And we read here that Jehoahaz mainly used his power and as king to exploit his people for his own benefit, and was always just pursuing more money and more possessions. And this contrast between Jehoahaz and Josiah highlights really well the very sharp distinction that the biblical authors make between good kings and bad kings. Good kings use their power and privilege to serve God and to help the poor and needy in their communities. But bad kings use their power and privilege to serve themselves and to help themselves and their powerful friends. These are the criteria that the biblical authors are most concerned about when it comes to evaluating Israel and Judah's kings. Now, if we apply that to our context today, we don't have many kings around, but we do continue to have really sharp disparities in the amount of privilege and comfort experienced by different groups of people in our society. And just like this ancient system of monarchy kind of naturally created a lot of inequity within society, we're really waking up to the fact that we have systems within our society that naturally create inequities between different groups of people. And we need to do the work of reforming or even sometimes dismantling those systems in order to create a more just society. But here's the deal. While we're in the midst of that work of fixing systems, of creating more systemic justice, it's worthwhile for those of us who experience individual privilege and comfort within these systems to ask ourselves how we are using our privilege. Are we using the power that we have within society for our own benefit at the expense of the quality of life of other people in our community? Are we always just working to get more and more money and possessions for ourselves? Or are we using our power to serve God and to help the poor and needy in our communities? As long as we live within these unequal and unjust systems, those of us who benefit from those systems, we have a moral responsibility to use our privilege to serve and to lift up those people who are crushed by the systems. So may we, as the people of God, take up that responsibility. Thank you all for tuning in today. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.